Hello, this is Lee Cooper, and this is my quick presentation of my data analysis protocol that I came up with for my district. So I actually spent a lot of time on this, probably too much time, but that's okay. And I actually made a website, so like a Google site for HSD2, so that's our school district. I made one for Bricker Elementary School, so that's an elementary school I've been working with for getting hours for my e-portfolio, and then I also made one for Fox Meadow Middle School, the school that I currently work at. So it's really just change the logos and those kinds of things, and I put links to the websites and those kinds of things. But the reason I did this is because I actually hope that this can be utilized. Talking with the elementary principal, she was like, yeah, that's great. Definitely make me one. I would really like to use that. And so, I tried to make it actually useful as I move forward as a principal and also right now in my current practice. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing to get hours for my e-portfolio is working with my principal in order to actually utilize this analysis protocol. So I'm going to run through that protocol real quick. So the first thing that I'd like to do is to start with why. So start with the vision and the goals. I think this is often lacking, and I think that this is going to really go to teacher reactions, right? Like, how are teachers going to react to this? I mean, typically teachers react to any kind of work that's outside of like their typical planning and those kinds of things as additional work, right? And it is additional work, and sometimes it can just be, if it doesn't feel purposeful, then teachers don't want to do it, right? So how can we motivate them? Well, I think this is a really big thing. So start with why. Asking the questions. Why do we exist as a district? Why do we exist as a building? What are the goals of the district? And what are your personal goals? Why are you here? And what is your purpose or mission? And where is it that you want to be? So, drawing from our curriculum that we've been looking at, that text, right? Those kind of questions. But they had that kind of in the middle, right? After they're looking at what and everything like that. But I think you really got to start with why. So, that's coming from that Simon Sinek, if you've ever seen the video. If not, check it out. So start with why. And then looking at big picture analysis. So once you kind of are looking at the data, first you just kind of have to get a big picture. What are the successes? What are the failures? What are the trends? But really look in big picture. Once you've kind of identified some of the areas of growth and concern, then you're going to need to prioritize. So we've got to determine what are the areas that we are going to be highest leverage, that are going to get us to our vision and goals the best. And so, and I tried to make this generic, but really, I know oftentimes we are just going to be looking at student assessment data, and so it's also kind of geared towards that. But so, what are the major standards that students struggle with, and that we really need to address? Then we're going to dig deeper. So once you've identified, once you prioritize, right, really dig in. What are the specific gaps in knowledge and skills and perceptions? What is it that they specifically did not understand on the questions? What is it that they specifically? Was it the type of question? Was it how the question was asked? Was it access to a calculator? Really analyze what could have gone on here and form a hypothesis for those root causes. And oftentimes it's going to be, was it taught well, right? How was the instruction? Next is going to be taking ownership. So as teachers, staff, administrators, we must own the outcomes revealed by the data and reflect on our practice. So, right, the student results are, I think we should look at that as a direct result of how we've taught them, how we've supported our students, what do we have in place for them, and how can we own those results in order to be reflective and in order to make change, right? And so that can be a little bit difficult, but again, I think this is going to help with those teacher reactions. When they're kind of grounding it in more like philosophy and making it more personable, they're going to be, I believe, more willing to want to do the work. And then also, so an action plan, how are we going from that problem to that solution? What is it that we're actually going to do? And being very specific. How are we going to address this problem specifically? So I'll get more into that here in a second. Also, continuous improvement. How are we going to monitor those results and ensure that if we didn't get the desired results, how are we going to still continuously improve? All right, and then I created a data analysis template. I embedded it here. Teachers can click here, and then it's going to open a new tab. I have it open because it took a second to load. No, maybe it's still going to take a second to load. Oh, here it is. Okay. So again, it's still pretty much the same thing. I've adapted this somewhat. I've added a lot to it, and then some of it I've adapted from a previous data analysis protocol from a previous school, but also tried to make it my own. So why do we exist again? So I'm putting that in here. What is it? What is our mission? Where do we want to be? The big picture analysis. So again, what are the kind of the glows? What are the grows? Coming down here, what is the priority? So teachers are outlining that. And then really when I say dig deeper, right, so then it's like, most often again, it's going to be student learning data. So if we're looking at the standard, what are the knowledge and skills that are necessary for that standard? Now, this could be used for other things. So let's say we're talking about perception data. you're still digging deeper and you're saying, okay, so what is necessary in order to, change these perceptions or those kinds of things, like, and maybe it's not called knowledge and skills, but you're still digging deep. Next would be item analysis. So what is the distractor analysis? Like, why did students maybe answer this question? What is the common mistake that they're getting? What are the knowledge and skills gaps? Again, like, what are they specifically getting wrong? And then finally, like I said, coming up with a hypothesis. Why do you think that students got this question wrong? Was it instructional? Was it the question type? Was it because you didn't teach them how to answer those question types? Whatever it may be. Next, like I said, ownership, action plan. So the action plan, just to outline this a little bit more. So what is the actual teaching point that we need to focus on? How are we going to do that both whole group and small group? So obviously, there's going to be individualized data. So how are we addressing students individually? And when is this going to happen? So it's not just some kind of vague plan. It's not just like, oh, this might happen somehow. But this is how, this is what, and this is when this is going to happen. And then lastly, the continuous improvement. So we got to know if we were successful. We got to know if our efforts were actually doing something. So how will we monitor the improvement efforts and student mastery? So this could be, it could be a small culminating question, like a task. So, students are given kind of like a constructive response kind of task or something. They're given a DOL. That would be like an exit ticket is what we call it. We call it a DOL. It could be independent practice. It could be a quiz. But it's important that whatever it is, it aligns to the teaching point. It aligns to the data dig that we had. It aligns to that standard. And it tells us whether or not students have actually mastered the skill that they previously were not able to master. And then I've also just included like a few little reteaching ideas that could be added to and those kinds of things. So, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you can find this to be useful, and I really hope that it is useful for me moving forward as we, in this next couple of weeks, kind of do a data dig. So hopefully this will be something I can use.